or at least those that claim to be, are very lackadaisical in terms of their participation at the polls. And I'm very concerned in times where we have the White House awash in gay pride colors, and we've got gays in the military, and we've got so many things that are going on in the world around us, of course, Planned Parenthood, abortion, etc. But Christians seem to be sitting down, or is that just my imagination?
Michael, you have raised such a salient point. This is a passion of mine. Thank you for asking it. As a matter of fact, I addressed this thickly in my newest book, Be Thou Prepared. So let me just tell you, no, you're not going crazy. No, you're not out of your mind thinking that you see this phenomena. Let me tell you what has happened. For decades, and there's so many tentacles to this, and I don't want to make it too complex over the radio, but let me just say, let me make it as simple as possible. We've been so blessed, so much, so powerfully in the United States. We, Christians, the church, we've become kind of fat and lazy and happy, and we've just gone on about life and wallowed in our prosperity and kind of hung on to the prosperity gospel, and God wants us all to be wealthy, and so we've focused everything on material things and wealth and big buildings and big shiny programs and big shiny preachers and everything else that goes along with it. And we've rocked along, and we've kind of checked out of engaging the system. And Jesus said, look, if the salt loses its saltiness, it's going to be trampled under the feet of men. Well, guess what? Christianity and the church has been trampled under the feet of Hollywood, of the government, of big corporations, of the media. We've been trampled because we have refused to be the salt to a large degree. Now, let me back this up with some statistics. And in my book, all of this is documented, so I'm just going to say this, and for people who maybe don't believe it or can't believe it, just get my book, read it, you'll see it, and then get all of the documentation is there. But just about a year ago, Michael, George Barna of the Barna Group, famous religious pollster, very, very well respected, has been for many, many decades. He was on a national radio program, and again, all this is documented in my book, but he was speaking with the host, and he revealed something to this host for the first time. In fact, he said, look, I've not revealed this yet because we haven't actually published it, but here's some of our latest research. He said this about a year ago. He said, I've spent the last 2 years interviewing and polling thousands upon thousands of conservative Christian pastors in America. All right? Now, not the liberals, not the middle of the road, but those who claim to be conservatives, staunch conservatives from conservative denominations. He said, I have interviewed thousands for the last 2 years. And he said, the first part of my questioning was, do you believe the Bible speaks to the issues of, and he goes through this list, politics, homosexuality, homosexual marriage, evolution, abortion, etc., all of these controversial things. He said over 90% of the pastors said yes. We believe the Bible speaks directly to those. Now, I don't mind telling you, Michael, I'm a little concerned that 10% of the conservative pastors said no. They didn't think, But anyway, look, over 90% said, yes, the Bible speaks to this. Then he said, how many of you actually address these issues from your pulpit in a regular diet so that your church knows what God's Word says about these things? Over 90% of the thousands upon thousands of conservative pastors responded, we never preach these things from our pulpit.
Right.
Then he asked them, why not? And the top answer was, because if we do, we will lose people. And if we lose people, we will lose their money. And if we lose their money, we can't pay for our buildings that we've built. Michael, you know what that means? According to George Barna now, not Carl Gallups, I've got this documented in my book. According to George Barna, what this means, over 90% of the conservative pastors in America admit that they are being purposely disobedient to the Word of God. That means over 90% of the people sitting in conservative pews of conservative churches under conservative pastors are not getting the Word of God as it applies to everyday life, and they don't understand. If you give up being the salt and being the light, you're going to be trampled underfoot. And I'm telling you, Michael, I'm laying a lot of the blame for where we are today at the feet of the church and so-called men of God. And listen, there are great men of God out there, And there are men who are preaching the Word, and men and women who are hearing it and living it, and they're out there. But the problem is, it's less than 10% of them. So think of it. And in my book, I give the other statistics, and I document this as well. Millions upon millions of people who claim to be born-again Christians don't even register to vote, Michael. And
I know that's right.
Yeah, and of those who do, in the last 2 elections, we have discovered, and it's documented, that 50% of those who do register don't even vote or didn't vote in the last couple of elections. Now, think of it, Michael. Think of the millions upon millions of Christians who have checked out and said, we're just not going to be a part of the process. And you ask them, say, well, we're always voting for the lesser of the two evils. And my answer to that is, yes, that's right. I mean, because we live in an evil world, and there's no one man that's going to save us. Now, there's eventually going to be one called the Antichrist who's going to offer to save the world, and most of the world's going to run after him. But right now, there's no one man that's going to save us until Jesus Christ returns. But in the meantime, we live in a fallen world, and we're dealing with fallen people, but we live in a constitutional republic, which is the best thing this planet has ever seen this side of Jesus Christ returning. And if we will obey the Constitution and live under the rule of law, and if we will respect this gift that God has given us, we can at least have some freedom to move about and enjoy life and take the gospel to the world. But if we check out and we refuse to vote and we refuse to get involved because we say, well, always voting for the lesser of two evils, so I'm not going to vote. Well, sir, well, ma'am, if you didn't vote, then you were instrumental in putting in office the greater of the two evils.
Right, exactly. Nice point.
So the point is, yes, we vote, and yes, sometimes you have to hold your nose, but look at it like this. People say, well, I want a Bible-believing, Jesus-loving, church-going, born-again Christian in office. Okay, well, in my lifetime, and I'm right at 60 years old, Michael, in my lifetime there's only been 2 candidates who claimed to be born-again, Bible-believing, Jesus-loving, church-going, Spirit-filled Christians. One of them sang in the choir at Emmanuel Baptist Church in Little Rock, Arkansas. That would be Bill Clinton. The other one taught a Sunday school class in Plains, Georgia. That would be Jimmy Carter. In my lifetime, those are the only 2 who claim to be those things, and look how that turned out.
Right.
One of the best presidents we had in the way of kind of conservative values and constitutional republic person, and a man that talked about God and the Bible was Ronald Reagan. But here was a man who came from a relatively liberal background at first. He was a Democrat, and then changed to be a Republican. He was divorced, which I don't say that's an unforgivable sin or anything, but he was. And then he never went to church a day in his life. While he was in office, his wife, Nancy, bless her heart, was known to consult astrologers and palm readers and have them come into the White House. So these were not born-again, Bible-believing, Jesus-loving, Spirit-filled, Sunday school-going Christians, but yet God used him mightily and in some powerful ways. So I just tell Christians, look, you got to stay engaged. You can never grow weary of doing good. Yeah, sometimes you got to hold your nose and vote for the lesser of two evils. But the bottom line is God has given us a gift. And you say, well, it's a sin to vote for the lesser of two evils. I'm going to tell you what's a sin, is to squander the gift God has given us.
I completely agree. I
could talk about it all night. Let me hush and let you talk.
Well, unfortunately, Pastor, we are about out of time, but I understand that your book is about to be released, or is it already out?
Well, you know what? The official date of release is September 29th, but Amazon's been shipping it for weeks. I mean, it's already in its 2nd or 3rd printing. The demand is so high. So, yeah, you can order it on Amazon and get it delivered in just a few days right now.
Well, we're also going to put it up on our website, which is michaelhartbookshelf.com, and the name of the book is Be Thou Prepared.
Yes, that's it. Be Thou Prepared, Equipping the Church for Persecution and Times of Trouble. Very balanced, very biblical, and I think it's going to be extremely useful.
Well, Pastor, just fascinating stuff, and we try to cover this as much as we possibly can, and to really